Welcome to This Week in Money, the source for market opinions. Sitting in for Phil Mackesy, here is Jim Goddard.
My guest is David Morgan, publisher of the Morgan Report, which you can find online at silver-investor.com. Welcome to the show, David.
It's great to be with you, Jim.
Well, the so-called fiscal cliff met at the very last second in the U.S., and I'm wondering, though, that this problem is not going to go away. They just delayed things again. What's that going to do to the precious metals market? Still make it attractive because we don't know what's going to be going on with the U.S. government's fiscal side?
Exactly. I think the simplest way you can break it down is trust or confidence. The whole system is a con game. It's a confidence game, and it's all about trust and believing or having faith in the U.S. dollar or the Japanese yen or whatever the currency de jure is. Obviously, the U.S. dollar is still prima facie the number one currency, still is reserve currency, although China, Japan, Australia, Brazil, many nation states have moved away from it. They haven't circumvented it altogether. It's still very important and truly the most important in international trade. But the confidence is waning more and more and more. That's why nations that I just named and others have moved away from the dollar and done trade agreements direct in their own currencies, again usurping the dollar. That will continue. So what is the most trusted asset? What is the one that you have the most confidence in? And 4,000 or 5,000 years of history have proven without a doubt, there's no argument about this, there's no opinion about this, it's a solid fact, is that gold primarily and silver secondarily have been the asset class that's trusted. And why is that? Because in and of themselves they have value. So there is no trust or confidence. It might be vary in value. Someone might value it more than another, or the price can vary. But nonetheless, there's no confidence issue. So that means that the pressure to move into something that you have less and less confidence in to something that you have absolute confidence in will continue. And if we look at the facts, what we see is the Asian countries and India seem to get this idea a little better than most North Americans, certainly not all. Many that listen to this show fully understand that. Many other nation states fully understand it. But the amount of pressure in the gold market and the silver market, the upside, has certainly fallen off in the last couple of years. But the fundamental fact remains, it's a confidence game. The dollar is losing confidence. China just came out recently and said, to de-Americanize the global system somewhat, meaning there should be alternatives to the U.S. dollar as a reserve currency. And that's been in work now for a few years, and it will continue. So, again, we are going to see, the world will see more and more pressure on the upside. And the Chinese and Indians, I think, are really subtly thanking everyone that's behind these markets for the low price that they've been generating in the last couple of years, particularly in the current time frame. We're real happy to trade these U.S. digits, these digital dollars, for real gold. Keep sending it over to us. Oh, we'll take some more. Oh, we'll buy more of it. They keep increasing their net purchases, and the rest of the world seems to have a big yawn and not really be paying attention to the fundamental factors that are driving the gold market, regardless of the price.
Well, Chris Marchese, one of your mining analysts, explained to me if China keeps snapping up gold at the current rate, they'll hold all of the physical gold that was produced this year.
Well, that's right. In fact, if you look at what India buys, what China buys, what is going on in other countries, and you add them all up, what you find is that the total mine supply in a given year is bought basically by China. So who else is buying? Well, some of the public in America, some of the public in Canada, some of the public globally. Also, you have other nation states that are buying it. You have Germany asking for its gold back, 20% of the gold back, and the Fed said, oh, no problem, give us 7 years to do it. So certainly there's physical pressure on the market, and that's why I am so strong about the fact that this paper chase that we've been witnessing for years and years and years can't go on forever. And the more and more physical demand that's put on the market, which again, continues unabated and continues to increase, generally speaking, is going to make the day of reckoning appear. When, I can't tell you. I believe it's going to be probably within the next few years. But it could be sooner, and unfortunately I could be incorrect. It could take longer than I expect, but nonetheless it will happen. And again, coming back to the point, I mean, I think it's already happening, to be clear, and the reason I can make that with some authority is that Germany, I mean, if Germany wants 20% of the gold back from the New York Fed, and the New York Fed says, yeah, no problem, give us 7 years, something is really amiss in the gold market. If they had the gold, it was unencumbered, it wasn't swapped, it wasn't leased, sitting in their vault as a segregated account, as it should be, Germany would be getting their gold back. But they're not. So that is a huge thing, but yet, again, the market seems to just take this ho-hum big yawn on this. Certainly I've been, pounding the table about it from the time it was first announced till now. But nonetheless, again, the market's like, oh, no big deal. Under those circumstances, in any other market, you would certainly see price pressure to the upside. I mean, let's take a quick example. If we went into the wheat market and China said, we're buying X, contracts of wheat for, millions of bushels, and the commodities exchange said, oh, no problem, give us 7 years to deliver it to us. I mean, that'd be all over front page news, and no one would stand for it. I mean, people have got to eat. But when it comes to the gold market, it's kind of like missed by the financial mainstream. And or if it's reported at all, it's, on page 27 on the back pages, and there's one paragraph about it. And then it's blown off. But yet this is probably more important than anything else because, money makes the world go round, so to speak. Really, it's energy. Oil is the most important commodity out there, but nonetheless, gold is extremely important, especially in financial settlement, and was the only way to settle international transactions up until August 15th, 1971, when Nixon reneged on the U.S. contract to pay in gold.
Well, the U.S., for the first time, I think, since the 50s, has become the world's #1 oil producer again. Does that take some of the pressure off the country?
I think it does. We've looked at the fracking situation rather hard. We certainly don't pretend to be all things to all people. We're not oil experts. We're energy experts, but have spent a great deal of time. Certainly the facts are what they are. I would not argue those. But the decline curve on this fracking situation is rather startling. It's an exponential curve. I mean, these things only last about 3 years. So it's sort of like a hamster in a cage. It's got to keep running faster and faster and faster to stay in place. Not that this won't take some pressure off. It will, and it has, and will continue. But I don't think it's going to last very long. I don't think it's a panacea that the mainstream press is talking about. And the other thing is EOEI, energy return on energy invested. And it's not very high. The economics of it, what you would do as a business person to go out and do this, it's very costly. So the overall return for the energy that you have to utilize to get the energy out is not very efficient. And these are things that most people don't even think about because the propaganda press says, oh, we're going to be energy independent, we're going to be able to export, our problems are over, we're better than Saudi Arabia, and on and on. Well, on first blush, there's some truth in what they say. But on a real financial analysis where you were going to make a profit or not on that business model, what you will determine and what you can verify for yourself, don't take my word for it, is the big boys are already backing off on this thing. They see the problems. So you got a lot of these little mid-tiers and smaller companies that are sitting there drilling their brains out. Certainly they're producing, but again, the decline curve is extreme, and the cost curve is about $85. So you get below $90 oil, it becomes pretty much uneconomic to do this. So there's a lot of subtleties about this that are not talked about unless you're in the alternative media or you really have your financial act together and you can analyze these things properly. So is it a boon? Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it's a short-lived one.
More with David Morgan next on This Week in Money.
Always consult your investment professional before making any investment decision.
Welcome back. We're speaking with David Morgan, publisher of the Morgan Report. We were just chatting about how U.S. energy apparently for most people is, the problems are solved. We have lots of oil and gas now with fracking and horizontal drilling. But is that really the case?
Right, and so I think I explained that part of it. But the bigger part of the story is, this can take place in other parts of the world. So certainly there is, reserves out there that can be fracked, horizontal drilled, and you can get more energy. So again, it's going to be a boon for a while. It's going to take place in other areas. It's really spearheaded in the U.S., but will continue in other areas of the world. So certainly there will be a bit of a boom, you might say, in it, but it doesn't excuse the economics. And so it's marginal. In other words, it's a high-cost way to get it. It's expensive, and therefore it's not like we're going to see, $10 barrel oil again. You're not. Again, you've got to be around $85 per barrel or higher for this to be economic to even go out and do it. But again, there will be other nation states. So I'm not trying to paint a picture that's inaccurate. We're still studying it. We're still looking into it. But there are some drawbacks, and, you can also put on the environmental hat and ask questions about whether or not there are problems with it. And there are. I think even the most adamant proponents of it will admit in some instances that it's, destroyed some water supplies, put methane into the water pipes and this type of thing.
Well, I've seen the documentaries where farmers turn on the taps in their house and they get natural gas. They can set fire to it.
Right, and this is a fact. Again, I don't argue facts. But the question is, in my mind anyway, is that a 1% of the time, 10% of the time, 20% of the time? That's the real question. I mean, first of all, if it happens at all, it's horrible. I mean, I'm not excusing that at all. But, I mean, if you look at anything in life, there's nothing perfect in the human sphere, and we make mistakes and accidents happen. So is this an accident that's, less than 1% of the time? And if that were the case, then, okay. I mean, let's grow up and be adults and say, that kind of thing can happen. Is it worth the risk? Yeah, I would say if it's under, 1% or 2%, that's probably worth the risk. If this is something that's more of a 10% of the time, then wow. And the other thing is human ingenuity, learning from the mistake. Is there a way to make sure that it doesn't happen in the future, or is there a way to mitigate it to almost zero? And if those answers are yes, then certainly, then industry will probably press on. If they're just ignoring it, or they have legislation, which I know they do, I've looked at that documentary myself. The legislation is basically in place that says, you know what, if we screw up, you can't sue us. I don't like that. I'm free market. I'm not for a lot of regulation. I think that, in a moral society, you can self-regulate. The problem is, at the end of these great fiat experiments, the destruction of the morality of the society is directly in line with the destruction of the currency itself. In other words, as this currency is destroyed, the moral values of the underlying society go out the window as well. That's easily proven if you study history. You look at the Roman Empire, it's probably one of the best examples. So you get this legislation that says, you know what, we're going to go out and horizontal drill, and if anything screws up in your water supply, the environment, or anything else, we've got all these really tough environmental laws and the Clean Water Act and all that stuff. I'll throw it all out the window. We don't care about that. We need energy. We need to make a profit. And the only way we can guarantee ourselves of making a profit is to ignore the Clean Water Act. Well, what does that tell you? I mean, I think it says volumes that I can't say in this show because all has been said. So these are issues that are complex. I don't want to take sides. I want to be objective. Again, going back, if it's a very minor occurrence, it happens very remotely, and some of these documentaries are making a big deal out of something that is a big deal. Again, I don't want to discount it too much, but what I'm trying to suggest is that if it's a small fraction part of the time, then obviously it's not going to be that detrimental from the bigger picture perspective.
David, let's talk about something more positive. The Silver Summit coming up in Spokane next week.
Right.
Maybe tell us about that and why the 11th annual. The people who are in the silver business tell me they're always excited to go to it. They make contacts that you couldn't anywhere else in the world. Plus, the people who are there understand the industry, the metal and the history behind it and all that. So it's more than just a hunk of metal that you pull out of the ground.
Well, the Silver Summit was started, as you know, 11 years ago, and it's probably the premier event on the planet for all things silver. And certainly there's other things that are talked about. There are other resources. But it is one of the most enjoyable events surrounding silver that I know of. As you said, a lot of history about silver, a lot of history about the silver mining areas, particularly the Silver Valley, which is very near where the event is held. There used to be mining tours every year that you could attend and go into a mine. If you've never been to a deep underground mine or a surface level mine, you can go and attend those. I don't think that's available anymore, but it used to be. And a gamut of speakers from all over the globe, from the most conspiracy-oriented to more establishment views that there's no manipulation in the silver market perspective. And in fact, this year there's going to be a debate between Bill Murphy, one of the founders of GATA, the Gold Antitrust Action Committee, and Jeff Christian on that very topic. So it should be one of the more interesting silver summits we've ever had. Yeah,
plus you have Jeff Berwick there, and controversy has always been his best friend.
Absolutely. And you've got Bix Weir, I think, with Roto-Roota, which is a very interesting perspective on the powers that be. It very much probably covers the gamut, again, from probably the most deepest, darkest secret to the most establishment perspective, as I just said. So it's a really, of course, I'm a silver bull, so it's one of the most interesting events surrounding silver, as I said.
What about the big disconnect we have between the sales of precious metals? There's a huge demand for gold, for example, and yet prices depressed and mining stocks, my goodness. Someone said there's no bargains out there anymore. Take a look at the juniors, looking for investment. They're in a lot of trouble.
A lot of them are. We're at an event that only happens basically once in a lifetime. I mean, the XAU to gold ratio is at about a 3 sigma, which means that this is an event that is extremely rare. So if you're looking for opportunity, that's where it lies. I would just caution people to look outside the junior space, certainly look at the junior space, but look over the entire thing and see, where you get the most value. So I would recommend that you look at, mining companies that are undervalued, that are producers, mining companies that are mid-level producers, and again, speculative situations. But you don't want to look at just the explorers, because that part of the market's pretty much been rinsed out, and some of these companies may not last a lot longer. But the opportunities in the sector are immensely mouth-watering. I mean, these are now, the problem is, it's a bottom, so most people don't want to buy a bottom, unfortunately. They're taught to buy a bottom, but most people don't have the patience or the faith to buy at these levels. And, 2 years from now, when these things are moving up and they're talked about all over the internet and that type of thing, people will be much more willing to buy them at a higher level than they are right now.
I know, it's the psychology of the market, isn't it?
It is, indeed.
We're sheep. We want to follow everybody else. And, of course, we remember the high-tech bubble bursting and what that did to everybody's investments. David, is there a website people can go to maybe explore some of your philosophy about precious metals?
Yeah, the best website is silverspeculator.com. That's silverspeculator.com. If they go there, it sort of outlines what we do in different levels of our service, different areas. You can get on our free email list that allows you to look at the Morgan Report for 30 days for free.
Silver123.net is a silver saver program designed to be as simple as possible. For as little as $50 per month, you can set up and create an automatic cost average buying program that will get silver or gold sent to your door on a monthly basis. The first step to creating an account is easy. You will supply some basic information. Next, you will add a bank account from which you will schedule your purchases. Scheduling purchases makes saving easy. Silver Saver is customizable and allows you to control the amount and the date of purchase. Once you are signed up, you are then given your affiliate code. Now you can save in precious metals and also market this program. You can use email, web pages, and multiple forms of social media to share the Silver Saver program. Silver Saver will reward you generously with physical silver or gold whenever someone you refer becomes a saver. Silver Saver not only provides you with a share code, but also allows you to place your own banner ad on a website of your own. Silver Saver is one of the best ways to start saving and accumulating gold or silver, especially at these levels. Visit silver123.net and start saving today.